People who have fallen for a scam. What scam was it? How much did you lose? Invent help. I lost $10,000. They don't market inventions. They send out pamphlets to thousands of companies with your invention in them. Most companies, if they like the idea, just make their own. This way of putting information out also makes things unpatentable. You could say that they invented a pretty good scam. My brother had just sold his car for cash and was on his way home when he stopped at a gas station convenience store along the interstate. While he was in there grabbing a Coke, some dude came in claiming he just won the lottery and was spreading the wealth. He announced that he'd double whatever cash a person had in their wallet, purse, or pocket, and give them the money. Just show him the money to keep folks honest. A woman in the store volunteered first and had like $20. The dude gave her 40 and she left. My brother, at this point, thought it was his lucky day, as he had like 2-3 grand from selling his car on him. He pulls out the roll and shows the guy. The dude snatches the wad of cash and bolts, jumping in the car with the chick that volunteered to go first. The highway patrol told my brother that it was gypsies pulling the same scam up and down the highway over the past few weeks. That sucks, but also, that's pretty dumb. On a bridge in Paris I saw loads of this kind of thing, like guess the cup and double your money. I was sure the people winning were friends in on it. I was scammed by my own parents when I was 8. I had $20 and my dad told me if I wanted to increase it and I said heck yeah, so he took the money and put both his palms in a fist and told me to pick which one. In one palm there was 20 plus another 20 and in the other there was nothing. Turns out both of them had nothing, and that was how my parents decided to teach me about the dangers of gambling. I cried my butt off that day. Update. Don't worry, I turned out alright. While it was a pretty nasty thing to do to an 8-year-old, I still appreciate my parents for what they were trying to do. They are great and loving people and they didn't tell me there was nothing in their hands until about a year ago when I was 18. I didn't get mad because it was actually funny and turns out it went straight into a piggy bank I had at the time. Haha, holy crap, that is brutal. I bet your face was a picture. My mom gets into a million pyramid schemes for arts and craft supplies, medicines, dishes, and more. Usually it's a couple hundred in items and the $250 sign-up fee. The lady 2 doors down from me is a consultant for at least 5 MLMs. Every week there's a new party here sign in her yard. I never see any cars there. When I was checking a detour in Google Maps, her address listed 3 of those businesses. She hasn't approached me, so I just shake my head at the sign when driving by. I was 14. I had a DeviantArt account and this dude contacted me asking for design work. He claimed he was gonna make the world's first cylindrical PC. He was doing a crowdfunding campaign and he said he'd give $4,000 of the money if he won. So I worked on it for weeks on end. I even learned how to use 3ds Max for it. Then he ended up just disappearing. Didn't lose any money but a bunch of time and I told everyone about it. So that was embarrassing. I even learned how to use 3ds Max for it. Sounds like you came out ahead. A bunch of my co-workers managed to stop an elderly couple from being scammed. They were into our store to buy a ton of gift cards. Something like $2,000 worth of iTunes gift cards. My co-worker was suspicious and asked why and they said their son had called them and said he was in jail and needed the $2,000 in iTunes gift cards for bail. The lady was absolutely adamant that it was her son and that she would know his voice even though he was crying a lot. The son had also told them that they needed to send them all the codes on the back of the cards within an hour or something like that. My manager then came over and found out what was happening and asked the couple where the son would be if he wasn't in jail and they said he'd be at work. The elderly couple didn't have a cell phone on them and they didn't have the number. But my manager had already denied the sale at that point and closed out the transaction. My manager got the couple to go all the way home and come back with the phone number. For some reason, I think due to what the man on the phone had said as a condition, the couple couldn't call themselves and had my manager call him instead. The guy answered at work because he wasn't actually in jail, and the manager handed over the phone to the lady and she was just crying because she was so scared he'd actually gone to jail. TLDR. My manager stopped a poor elderly couple from falling for one of those relatives in jail and needs money in the form of iTunes gift cards. I was 21, frisky and lonely. For whatever reason, I decided to look for a girl to sleep with on Craigslist. Got an email back from one who said something along the lines of, "I'd love to meet with you, but I'm scared." I had another encounter where the guy was a creep and I had to run for my life. So please use this site to check your identity. They just need a credit card number. To this day I cannot believe I fell for that. But hey, thinking with your dong can get you in all kinds of trouble. Anyway, it kept failing to give me a "you did it" dumbass screen. After a while I tried another card. Then, miraculously, I got suspicious. I looked up stuff about the website, saw people posting the email I got word for word, saying the site kept charging them $80 a month and they couldn't make it stop. I booked it outside and called to cancel my cards. Didn't end up losing anything but a good chunk of dignity. I paid $2 for a toilet in a museum. Later I realized that it was just a lady sitting by the door getting people to pay her, and washrooms were free. I mean, it isn't much, but I'm still annoyed at how easily I fell for it and all. Got sucked into Amway by someone. They did not call it Amway, but called it Quickster. I poured money into it, went to meetings, tried to network, ended up dropping out as it was just a waste of time and money. My grandpa fell for the hurt grandson scam. I just got home from deployment and instead of calling me he lost $2,500. Edit. My grandpa assumed it was me because the caller said, "Do you know who this is?" And my grandpa said my name and the guy went from there. Even talked to my aunt and she thought it was me. My grandpa tried telling my mom it was for an old police buddy because the bank thought it was weird my grandpa was getting so much money out in 2 days. He was also visibly upset, crying. Miss my grandpa, but he's a knucklehead falling for it. I got this one in New Orleans. It's a common scam on the street there, but I didn't know about it at the time. At least it wasn't much money. Guy walks up to me and says, "I bet you $5 I can tell you where you got your shoes." Me. "Okay, you're on." Guy, "You got 'em right there, on your feet." Me. "Well dang." This didn't happen to me, but a friend and I am unsure if it counts as a scam, but anyway, he's a very clean living, organized dude buying his first flat when he finds out his credit is crap and he doesn't qualify for the loan he was budgeting for. He hasn't even had a late fee and maintained a standard credit card by using it to buy stuff he already had the money for and immediately pay the card off, in order to have a credit footprint. Like, really reasonable steps within his means. Turns out his younger sister, 16 at the time, had used his identity to sign up for a phone plan for her BF and then not paid up, just intercepted the mail and threw the bills in the bin. He called the phone company to clear it up, since this was a minor contract should be void, and found out that they considered the phone his unless he turned his sister into the police. All his friends said do it, but his mom gave him heck until he gave up and paid the bill, then got a much worse loan. Still makes me mad just typing it. I get wanting to protect your kid, but then why not the other kid too? If mom wants him to not report his sister, then she could dang well have at least paid the bill. She didn't do her daughter any favor though, honestly. It's a good thing to be held accountable for your actions, whether they're good or bad. My mom was invited to an orientation to work for an insurance company and I already had my suspicions as to what it was. I asked my mom what company it was, and her friend wouldn't tell her. We went, and I was right. Primerica. She didn't want to leave because she felt ashamed to leave when her friend invited her to it. I lost about 4 hours of my life that day. The college I went to, they lied about student placement rates and demand within the city and field. They had a revolving door effect and especially tried for low income and disabled persons to get more loans and state funding. $100K. I have a brother who is learning disabled and autistic. I was about 15 when this happened and he was 18. He had been walking through our town when he was approached by 2 people who had a stall selling paintball sessions. They pressured him into buying the full package at a cost of £70. My brother didn't have this on him, so they walked him to the ATM and made him take it out and give it to them. They didn't even give him any tickets. I went straight up the town to confront them, but they had already gone. Don't know if it was a scam they had going or if they just saw an opportunity with my brother. Either way, frick them. My friend told me he could double my money on RuneScape. He stole $500K and logged off. Good thing I knew where he lived and told him it'd get my dad to go over his house. He then gave it back. Two of my friends told a guy they were going to ambush someone in the wilderness and asked if he wanted to join in. They ended up killing him and taking all his stuff. Next day the guy pulls a knife on one of my friends telling him to give his stuff back. My friend tells him to not be an idiot and put the knife away. So he did. It was very strange, scary to witness this happening without context. Not me, but my brother sent a deposit for a flat in Germany that didn't belong to the guy who was renting it. He lost 800 euros and couldn't get it back as he sent it via Western Union. Someone came up to our building recently with a moving van thinking he was moving in that day. Some poor dumb country kid from Iowa lost like $5,000 to a Craigslist rental scam. I hope he had parents to be able to bail him out of that mess. Long haul scam in Vegas. From the airport, a taxi takes you on the highway or the tunnel, which adds $12 to the fare if you're going to the strip. It's one of the most ubiquitous scams out there, and in my guess happens to approximately 50% of all people. A lot of people don't even know they were scammed because they are unfamiliar with the prices and area. This is why I just use a rideshare, Uber, Lyft, now from the airport in Vegas. No more bulls. This is why the local taxi companies don't like rideshares. When I was 13 years old, I received my first laptop. I was so excited to start using it. After a little bit of use, I noticed it was a little slow, so I looked into things that made a laptop slow. This eventually led to me being hyper paranoid about errors, ways to improve speed. After 2 months of owning a computer, I get a lovely call from a technician from Microsoft claiming that my computer was running slower based on an online diagnostic. Me being in this fragile state of mind surrounding my computer's speed, I agree to his diagnosis as fast as I can. Now, if you have not heard of this scam, they will call you and tell you to open this log that has a bunch of crash reports and claim that they are viruses that can only be removed if they gain remote access to your computer. So obviously he follows procedure, and sure enough, there is a list of errors that make my eyes pop out of my head. I agree to give him remote access to my computer, which leads him to put something called a size key on my computer, which effectively rendered it worthless until I purchased the key from him for $300. Immediately seeing the error in my ways, I shut off my computer and hang up. Once I turn on my computer again, I notice that I cannot get past the boot screen of my new computer. Freaking out, I look back for any clues to get me out of this. I notice the technician created the size key while I could see the amount of characters. In this case, it was 3. First try, 1 2 3. Does not work. Second try, QWE. Works. The idiot used a super simple password and lost himself $300 because if it had come to it, odds are I would have paid. So long story short, got scammed and lost nothing because he was an idiot and did not use a longer password. No offense, but this is why younger teens don't need their own laptops with full admin rights. My parents always put restrictions on our shared desktop so nothing like that could happen, since mom had personal and tax stuff on it. Also another reason to get rid of landlines. They are just a free market for scammers now. Easy and free to block scam numbers from most smartphones. Friend let me borrow his RuneScape account when we were 11. Someone approached offering loads of gold, but they just needed the password for the account and for me to log off. So I thought I'd do something nice for my friend. Gave the player the password, and the rest is history. Hey, it's me, your armor trimmer. Bait and switch scams are easy to fall for. I once needed my carpets cleaned. I called a few places and most wanted around $500. However, one place said they would do it for only $100. They came by and unloaded all of their equipment. They moved all my furniture out of the way and examined the carpet for stains, etc. Just before they started, they told me they highly recommended the deep wash. When they elaborated, they told me that the $100 treatment would be no better than a household vacuum and the real job cost $500. Since the real job cost was similar to the other places and they were already fully set up and ready to go, what choice did I really have at that point but to opt for it? Although I was baited, they actually did a professional job on that carpet. Another easy one to fall for is the broken glasses scam. While walking on a street in NYC, I accidentally bumped into a kid, or so I thought. The glasses flew off of his face and apparently shattered when it hit the ground. He was really nice about it. He explained that he was a student and he understood that we bumped into each other, but he was the one who incurred damages. He said the cost to replace the glasses would be around $200 and he was willing to split that cost with me. Since he was so kind, I would have given him any cash I had in my wallet. Luckily, I had no cash on me when he started pushing me to use an ATM, etc. I quickly became suspicious and just walked away. He walked in the other direction. Scam artists are great actors, almost like street magicians. Scammed by my mother. As a child, my father saved a little from each paycheck to send me to college. I would be the first person in our family history to attend a college. At age 16, my parents got divorced. My college fund was about $9K by then. My mother pulled me aside and said, "You need to have your father put that money in my name, so we can save it for your college. Your father will just spend it." So I asked my dad to do that, and he did. My mother promptly cashed it and bought a car. Whoa, your mom's a C. This strange contracted tech support job that worked off commission, but I could choose my hours so it worked with school and my other job. A lot of the other callers made 20-30 appointments in their 8-hour shift, and pay was $5 an appointment. Seemed nice for an underwear job. Awful. The first day, I didn't make a single commission, and spent the 8 hours straight on the phone dealing with appointments that were made but never scheduled correctly. So first shift got the pay, and I got to do the work and angry phone calls. Didn't have time for homework. Didn't have time for anything but wall-to-wall anger. Halfway through the next night, after the same dance, I unplugged the magic jack or whatever it was and dropped the stuff off at my handler's house. Not me, but my mother fell for a postal job application fee scam. The way the scam works is that the post office puts out a notice that they're hiring and puts out applications. They don't charge fees for applying for a job with them. The scam artist makes up official looking flyers applications which pretty much advertises the available job positions within the post office and asks the applicant to fill out the job application form and send it to them with a non-refundable application fee, usually $50 per applicant. After they get your application and money, they pocket the money and forward your application to the post office. My mother got a hold of several of these flyers applications, thinking it was genuine. She brought them home and instructed me and my brother to fill them out. I looked it over, not knowing at the time it was a scam, and noticed that the application had a deadline as to when it could be sent in. The deadline was the day before. It was too late to fill these things out and send them in. I pointed out the deadline to my mother, but she just angrily yelled at me in response, "Just fill it out." Mother has some serious anger management issues and other mental issues, so we each filled out the application forms. She gave brother $150 in cash with instructions to go to the post office and buy 3 $50 money orders to pay for the application fees, one for each of us. Brother did that, came back with the money orders and mother sealed them with the application forms. Gave them to brother with more instructions to now mail them, which he did. About 3 or so weeks passed and we each get letters from the post office. They were rejection letters stating our applications for employment had been rejected because they were filed after the deadline. I recall my mother standing there in the kitchen, holding and staring at a rejection letter for the longest time. I just know she was thinking of that $150 she sent out for nothing and will never get back. It wasn't until later did I discover that the post office doesn't charge application fees to apply for jobs with them, and the con artists, whoever they were, must have been thrilled to still be getting money sent to them even after the deadline. Pretty much the rule of thumb is that if you have to pay a fee to apply for a job then it's a scam. I was scammed by my gambling addicting dad as a college freshman. He made me sit down and wrote checks with just the amounts and the recipient blanks. It came out to be about $2K of my leftover grant scholarship money. I realized at the time it was wrong, but I also felt so helpless and not realized I was brainwashed and abused by my parents until much later. I thought their parenting was the cultural norm. I'm amazed how many parents see their kids as sources of money, and how they feel they are owed the money for the cost of raising the child. I owed some back taxes at the time. I got a call from a lady claiming to be a government representative who gave me a payee number to add to my bank to pay off my tax debt. I added them as a payee, made a $400 payment, then thought wait a second and cancelled it before it went through. I was in downtown Chicago on my phone ordering an Uber last winter when homeless looking guy walks up to me and tells me that he likes my shoes. I thank him and he proceeds to drop to his knees, and before I react, he is halfway done with shining my left shoe. Once he is done, he demands $20 from me. After a bit of arguing, my Uber pulled up and I told him that he can either take the $5 I offered him or I'd take his picture and call the cops. He proceeded to call me every name in the book, so I put the $5 in his hand and got in the car. TLDR. I paid $5 for an unsolicited shoe shine in Chicago. I wouldn't have given him crap. Vector marketing. Cutco knives. When I, and everyone else, graduates high school in my area, we get a letter in the mail telling us that a new company has opened looking to employ. Wanting to jump straight into adulthood, I immediately called for an interview. My interview was held in a huge office. There were about 20 applicants. The first red flag was that they did the interviews with 2 people at a time. I was immediately hired, and we were to play with various fruits, slicing and testing the product. We were told that we would be making $15 an hour, and commission. The next red flag was that the second interview was held in the conference hall of a Holiday Inn. There had to be over 200 new hires. During the second interview process, the speaker taught us how to sell the product, along with reciting various success stories of people in our position. Every bright-eyed innocent there anxiously listened for a total of 2 hours before they gave us insight to the catch. They said it was a door-to-door sales job, that in order to sell the product we would need a knife set of our own. They prefaced it by telling us our parents would happily loan us the money, that it is worthwhile investment. They then said we were only limited by our ambition, aka, if you can't sell this crap, it's on you. The $15 turned out to be a per presentation basis. So, after you go through the trouble of finding someone willing to listen to you for an hour, they will give you $15 for attempting the sale. That translates to about $30 on a good day. The demo knife set was $210 a piece. They made $42K, simply hiring people that day. A coworker of mine was scammed by a Care.com user. She was about to be a freshman in college and wanted to make some extra money during the summer by nannying. So this person who hires her through the website says her first task is to shop online for some items, like an expensive stroller, changing station, and so on. And then on her first day she will be reimbursed and given her first paycheck. A few days later, my co-worker gets confirmation emails that the items have been delivered, but doesn't hear from the Care.com user again. The person just scammed her for the items' money with no intention of hiring her. She lost thousands of dollars, which was all of her college savings. She tried to work with the Care.com support people, but it sounded like they couldn't provide much help. I know it was dumb of her to do, but she was fresh out of high school and truly cares about other people. It was sad to see this happen to her and have her genuine compassion taken advantage of. I used to be on Care.com and was contacted by a woman who gave me a check and told me to cash it before watching her child. Felt so humiliated when I took it in and found out it was a fake. Foreign looking guy came up to me and had this sheet on a clipboard to write names on. He also had a sign that said donate for the poor mute deaf people or something like this. I wanted to give him €5 but he begged for more, without talking, so I gave him €10. After 2 minutes I realized he scammed me because I know sign language and he didn't use it. Also, organizations that care wouldn't let a mute go out on the street alone and ask for money. Beware of foreign looking guys. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.